Today we've got another Joycon with a ripped R button pad, so let's get straight into it. There's the pads already attached to the button, so we need to get those off. Oh, if I can actually grab the button, I can show you what that looks like. Just gonna heat this from the bottom. Okay, I'm gonna clean off my tip. Let's focus that in so I can make sure they're all clean and flat. Cool. Now let's focus our attention over here on these pads. I want to add some flux, just a tiny bit. Make sure my board is totally flat as well. I actually want to wick those pads off, so that way they're completely flat as well. I think I'm going to need to add some fresh solder to them first, then I can wick them. Now let's try. Beautiful. Beautiful. No. Now let me add just a little bit more flux on one side. Now I want to flip this switch upside down. I want to put it in place to see how we're doing with fit. Looks good. So let me just make sure I can hold this in place. I'm gonna try to hold it in place, and then I'm gonna solder down the side there. Let me bring in my solder. I'm going to bring it in over here so I can actually grab it with my iron without moving it, the button. Now let's come into the side. Just want to tack it in place for now. Oops. Good. We will make it pretty. I just need to hold it in place until I can get both sides. And then I can make it pretty. Okay, let me clean my iron off. Let's go ahead and add some flux to each side. And let's go over those one more time. Isn't that prettier? Okay, we'll do the same thing over here. I do see that metal kind of going in and out, so I want to actually kind of squeeze this. Great. Make sure the button still presses. Still pressing. Okay, looks good. Now let's focus our attention on the back. This is where we're going to be doing a lot of our work. And we do see these areas, the pads are ripped. So we can decide how we want to do this. I personally prefer to have a more strong connection. So I think I'm going to tin these two, because this little guy right here connects to right here. And this center pad connects to right here. So let's go ahead and tin those, and we'll run our jumpers, and then we'll seal it with some UV solder mask. And what I've done beforehand is I scraped those pads with a blade. Okay. Let's get some jumper wire. I'm going to do 3, because if you only do one of the side pads, you can get buttons that kind of come in and out. So there's 1. I'm cutting these kind of long, but there's so much wire, I'm never going to use it all. Just dropped another piece somewhere else, that's okay. Alright, let's do the rightmost one first. I'm going to come in here. Looks great. Okay, that should be that one. Let's get another piece of wire. Let me straighten this out so it's easier to work with. And we're going to try to get that center pad. This one will be a little difficult. Looks pretty good. I'm going to put my iron down for a second, and I want to kind of manipulate this wire into the place I want it. And this wire is enameled, so I don't really have to worry about it touching something it shouldn't. I want to kind of hold it down right there. I'm trying to make this a 15-minute job, or less. Let's see if we can do that. That one's in place. Just want to heat this up one more time. Looks good. Let's add a little bit more flux, just a tiny bit. And we'll run that last wire around, just so we have it. It's better to have it than to not have it. Let me also trim this. Go. Oh, here comes my menace cat. She's gonna jump in my lap. Come here. You know what maybe I could do? Instead of having to run that whole other wire around, I could run this one from down here. Let's just trim it the right length. That should be it. Let's clean and I'll test. So I'm just gonna pour some alcohol on there. And once we test it working, I can go ahead and add some solder mask. And of course, let me make sure these connections aren't shorting out anywhere. Let's check. So I'll check these 2 points against each other. Let me switch my multimeter to continuity. There's no beeping. Let's make sure it beeps here. It does beep there, and we'll make sure it beeps here. And how about to the center? No. But how about here to here? Yes. Nothing shorting to ground. Now, do these work together? Oops. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to probe these two, and then we press the button. Those two connect, and how about these outer two? And those connect. Alright, so that's it. Let's apply some solder mask and we'll be done. This will just hold the wires in place. This is just a UV activated mask. Oops. So cotton fiber from something. Okay, let's cure it. I'm going to come in with the UV light and then just a little bit of hot air on top. And that'll just help speed up the curing process and make it cure really hard. Just coming in just a little bit. Let's see how that's looking pretty good. I'll just do a little bit longer, a little bit more hot air. Just for a second, and I'm moving it around so that way won't melt anything. I'm not trying to melt any solder, just want my connections to work. Okay. And now we're going to give it one final test. So to do that, I think what I can do is I can scrape a little bit down here. And I'll scrape this little bit down here. Those pads were exposed previously anyways. So I just want to expose them again. That way we can see just do a final test to make sure it's working. Okay, those look like they're exposed now. Let's make sure first of all that they're not shorting. Not shorting, make sure it's not shorting to ground. And it's not. And how about with each other if I push this button? It's working, so I'm getting a beep, which means that it's continuous when I press the button. Okay, that's going to be it for this one. If you have a button that you need repaired, feel free to send me a message using the information in the description. I do this repair for a pretty good price if you just send me the board, and it's a pretty quick repair as you can see from this video. It's just a matter of having the tools and some muscle memory to get it done. And when you're done, you do get something that's a little bit more resilient. This solder mask is a UV resin, so that kind of helps to give it some more structure as well. And one last shot. Yeah. Looks good. We're going to call this one done. Thanks for watching.